Hi guys, it's me Terri of the Yarnjoy podcast. Welcome to the 5th installment of the baby educational ball tutorial. Okay, so today we're going to do a flower with a ladybug sitting on the top of it, and then it will be connected with a little strip, and I'm going to be using this panel right here. Okay, and so the colors that I'm going to be using is, I'm going to be using this purple for the center of my flower. I've got orange for the petals. I need, let's see, red for the ladybug, and of course black for the trim on the ladybug. And then I'm going to be using green, which is the same green as this panel, for the little strip that connects the flower, the ladybug to the flower. And let's see, I need a little bit of stuffing for inside of the ladybug. And then of course we're going to need a yarn needle. And for this particular panel we also need a piece of Velcro. This is just a Velcro strip that I had that's like a sew-on strip. And so I just cut a little piece, well, it's a rectangle, I was about to say square, to attach the ladybug to the flower. Okay, so I'm going to need that, and then also an actual sewing needle with some strong sewing thread. That's to sew on the Velcro piece. Okay, and of course your crochet hook. Now this is all the same weight yarn that I've been using for the whole entire project. I'm using a number 3 or DK or sport or baby weight yarn, like that. And I'm using a 3.0 millimeter hook, and then of course you'll need a pair of scissors. Okay, I think that is it. Let's see. Oh, and we're going to need a stitch marker. Okay, so I got a stitch marker here. Okay, and now I think that's it. Okay, so let's set our panel aside for the moment, and let's start with the center part of our flower. So I'm going to be using this purple here. In the picture it has yellow being the center, but I don't have enough of the bright yellow to use, so I decided to use purple for the center of my flower. Okay, it says starting with a magic ring, and of course you can chain 2 and then work in the second chain from the hook if you don't want to do a magic ring. But I'm going to do a magic ring. So in the magic ring we're going to do 6 single crochets. Okay, so let me get that set up here. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do 6 single crochets into this magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and then we're going to pull on the beginning tail to tighten up our circle. Okay, and then going on to round 2, and we are not going to join the rounds, we're just going to be working in a spiral. So going on to round 2, it says single crochet 2 times in each stitch around. Okay, so right now we have a stitch count of 6. At the end of round 2 we're going to have a stitch count of 12. Okay, so going right into the first stitch on the round 1, we're going to do 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Get that in there. Okay, 3 and 4 in the next stitch. 5 and 6, 7 and 8 in the next stitch. 9 and 10, 11 and 12. Okay, so that was 2 stitches, 2 single crochets into each stitch around. So now at the end of round 2, I have a stitch count of 12. Okay, going on to round 3, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the next stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so I'm going to start using my marker now. So we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, so 1 and 2. I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to put the marker in the first stitch that I just made, because I just put 2 stitches into that first single crochet. So I'm going to mark the first one. Okay. Now going on, I'm going to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that sequence all the way around. 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and just repeat that all the way around, and I will meet you at the marker. Okay. Okay, so I just got to the end of round 3, got back to my marker again. I'm going to take my marker out so that I can move it. And going on to round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and we'll repeat that around. Okay, but right now at the end of round 3 we are ending off with 18 stitches around. Okay, going on to round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 and 2. Okay, and then I'm going to put my marker in the first stitch of that round. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and repeat that sequence around. 2 single crochets, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and repeat that sequence all the way around, and I will meet you when I get to the marker. Okay, so I got back around to the marker, and now I have a stitch count of 24 stitches around. Going on to round 5, I'm going to take my marker out, and then round 5 says 2 single crochets in the next stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 single crochets in this first stitch, 1 and 2. Put my marker in the first stitch of that round, and then I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and 1 single crochet in the next stitch. So I'll have 3 singles, okay, 3 where you have just 1 single crochet in each stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that all the way around. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and now repeat that sequence all the way around, and I will meet you when I get to the marker. Okay, so I got back to the marker, and so now in this, at the end of round 5, I will have 30 stitches all the way around my circle. Okay, so removing my marker, going on to round 6, it says 2 single crochets in the next stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. Okay, so 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 and 2. Put my marker into the first stitch of those 2 that we just made. Okay, and then it says 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and 1 single crochet in the next stitch. So 4 times, and then we're going to repeat that with 2 single crochets in the next stitch. Okay, and then 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then we're going to repeat that sequence all the way around, and so I will meet you back when I get back to my marker. Okay, so now I just finished round 6, and at the end of round 6 you should have 36 stitches all the way around. Okay, so going on to round 7, I'm going to remove my marker, and on round 7 it says 2 single crochet in the next stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches. Okay, so 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and then put our stitch marker in the first one of those 2 that we just made. Okay, and then it says 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then repeat that sequence around. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then repeat that sequence all the way around, and I will meet you back when I get to the marker. Okay, so I just got finished with round 7, and at the end of round 7 we should have 42 stitches all the way around our circle. Okay, so now I'm going to take out my marker, and I'm also going to fasten off, because this is the end of the purple part, or the inside color of your flower. So I'm going to go ahead and just slip stitch into the next stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to cut my yarn. But I'm going to go ahead and leave a tail, so that way I can use this to sew down my circle onto my panel. So I'm just going to wring the yarn around, so I'll make sure it goes all the way around the circle. Cut my yarn, and then I'm just going to pull my needle through, or my hook through, sorry. And then there is the center of our flower. Okay, and then right quick I'm just going to secure my beginning tail, just to make sure that this circle stays cinched up. Just put a couple of stitches in there to tighten that center down, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this. Doesn't have to be all the way flush with it, because this of course is going to be the inside of the ball, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so there is the center of our circle, the center of our flower. And now we're going to take the color you're going to use for your petals, and we're going to attach that. Okay, we're going to attach it by drawing up a loop. We're going to insert our hook into that stitch that we did the slip stitch into when we fastened off. Okay, that same stitch. And then I'm going to just draw through a loop of my petal color, chain 1 to lock that down, and then go on to round 8. And it says to do 1 double crochet and then 2 triple crochet and then 1 double crochet in every 2 stitches. So I believe that means every other stitch. So it says to do 1 double crochet, and so for this first double crochet we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and that is going to be equivalent to the first double crochet. And then to that same stitch we're going to do 2 triple crochets. So we need to yarn over twice and then go into our stitch and then take off our loops 2 at a time. Okay, for a triple crochet, and then we're going to do that again into that same stitch. Okay, and then we're going to do a double crochet into that same stitch. So we'll have 4 stitches in that stitch. Okay, so going on to make our remaining petals, I think what I'm going to do is, just to make the petals stand out just a little bit more, I'm going to go into the very next stitch with a slip stitch. okay? Just a slip stitch to kind of form the petal a little more. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to do my next petal, which is going to be 1 double crochet, and then 2 triple crochets, and then another double crochet, okay? And then in the next stitch, I'm just going to do a slip stitch, just to kind of fasten down my petal, okay? Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that all the way around. So 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 triple crochets in that same stitch, two of them, and then 1 double crochet into that same stitch, okay? And then slip stitch into the next stitch, okay? Okay, so see how it's making our little petals there. So I'm going to repeat that sequence all the way around, and I will meet you when I get back around to the beginning, okay? Okay, so I just finished my round of petals, and I just slip stitched. When I got to the end, I slip stitched to the base of the first petal, and now I'm going to fasten off. And this one I do not need to fasten off with a long tail, because I'm going to be stitching down my flower onto the panel with the purple, the inside color of my flower. So this one doesn't have to have a long tail, so I'm just going to snip that off, and then I'm going to pull my yarn through since I did a slip stitch. Okay, and we're done with the orange. Okay, so there is my flower, and I can go ahead and tie these ends together, which was the beginning tail and the ending tail of my orange. Okay, just tie them in a knot. Okay, and then trim them a little bit short, just to get so then it'll be out of our way. Okay, and then I'm done with my flower part, okay? And so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and start with get our ladybug made, okay? So we're going to put the flower aside along with the panel, okay? And the bottom of my ladybug is going to be black, so I'm going to take this white piece of paper here, so that way you can see my stitches easier, okay? I think that'll help. So let's go on to the underside of the ladybug, and I'm going to use this black DK weight yarn that I've got here, and it's just going to be 4 rounds for the bottom. So we're going to start with a magic ring, and of course you can do the chain 2 and then work your stitches in the first chain, second chain from the hook if you want to do it that way. I'm going to do the magic ring, but I'm splitting my yarn here. Let's try this again. Okay. Okay, so it starts like all our other ones. We're just going to do 6 single crochets into that magic ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and we're gonna pull up our beginning tail to close up our ring. Okay, and then let me get some more yarn here. Okay, and then the next round is going to be the same as the other round 2s that we've been doing. We're going to do 2 single crochets into each stitch around, and I know using black yarn is a pain because it's really hard to see the stitches, but bear with me here. So we're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around, so that's going to give us 12 at the end of this round. Okay, so 2 single crochets. So there's 1 and 2 in the first one, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, Okay, and then 11 and 12. Okay, so that is the end of round 2. Going on to round 3, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch and 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to do that all the way around. Okay, so we're going to start, I'm going to start using my marker again. So we're going to do 2 single crochets. Wait a minute, no, I almost skipped a stitch. 2 single crochets in the first stitch, so 1 and 2. Okay, put my marker in the first stitch of those 2 that I just made. So that would be right there. Okay, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that all the way around, and at the end of this round we should have 18 stitches around. Okay, I'll meet you when I get back to the mark. Okay, so I got to the end of round 3, and now going on to round 4. This will be our last round having to work with the black. That's good. So take out our marker. We're going to do 2 single crochets. Get some more yarn here. 2 single crochets in the first stitch. So 1 and 2. And then I'm going to put my marker into the first stitch of those 2 that I just made. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so that's all we're going to do for this one. We're going to repeat the sequence around. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1, 2. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that sequence around, and I will meet you when I get back to the marker. Okay, so I just got finished with round 4, and at the end of this round we should have 24 stitches around our circle, and that is the end of the bottom part of our ladybug. So I'm going to take my marker out. I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch just to fasten it off, and we do not need a tail for this one. We will use the tail on the top part to sew the top to the bottom, and so we don't need a long tail. And now I'm just going to pull my hook through, tighten my yarn down a little bit, and then that's all for the bottom of our ladybug. Okay, so now let's get the top of the ladybug done. Okay, so I'm starting with a magic ring. And then I'm going to do 6 single crochets into that magic ring. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and now I'm going to pull on my beginning tail to cinch up the ring. Okay, now going on to round 2, we're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around, just like we've done on the other circles that we've made. Okay, so going into that first stitch, I'm going to do 2 single crochets into that stitch. Okay, 1 and 2. Okay, and then you've seen me do it on 2 other circles, so I'm just going to go ahead and let you do it on your own. So I just want you to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and when you get to the end of round 6, you should have 12 single crochets. Okay, so I'll meet you when I get back to the beginning. So I got back to the beginning, so now I have 12 single crochets in each stitch around. Okay, now I'm going on to round 3, and I just noticed in the viewfinder that right there looks like an eye, doesn't it? That might be a little distracting, so let's put this aside over there. Okay, there you go. Okay, going on to round 3, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the next stitch and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and I'll start using my marker. So we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 and 2. Okay, and then I'm going to take my marker, put it in the first stitch of those 2 that I just made. Okay, so I did 2 single crochets in the first stitch. Now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and then repeat that sequence all the way around. Okay, so I just finished round 3, and at the end of round 3 you should have 18 stitches around your circle. Going on to round 4, I took the marker out so then I can move it. Going on to round 4, I'm going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 and 2. Put my marker in the first stitch of those 2 that I just made. And then I'm going to do 1 single crochet each in the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Okay, 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2. 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1 and then 1 in the next one. Okay, repeat that sequence all the way around and I'll meet you at the marker. Okay, so I just finished round 4. I now have 24 stitches around my circle, and then all I'm going to do now is for round 5 and 6, I'm just going to do 1 single crochet in each of the next 24 stitches around. Okay, and then I'm going to do that twice. Okay, so we're going to do 2 rows of just 1 single crochet in each single crochet around. Okay, so let me get the 2 rows done and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I just finished round 6, and now I'm going to fasten off by slip stitching into the next stitch. Okay, and then now this one I do want to leave a long tail because this is what I'm going to use to stitch the top part of the ladybug to the bottom part of the ladybug. Okay, okay, and so I'll just draw my hook through, and there is the top part of our ladybug. Okay, now this tail can be stuffed on the inside if you prefer. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and embroidery the details on the top shell of this ladybug. Just refer to the picture in the pattern and get your ladybug stitch, the details stitched on there. I'm just going to use the black DK weight yarn that I used for the bottom. Okay, so I need to first, looks like I need to divide it in half. So I'm going to start using this yarn tail as a guide, and I'm going to just come up and make some long stitches all the way across to divide my ladybug in half. Actually, well, not all the way in half. I don't have to go all the way. Let's just see. Okay. So I would say 2/3 of the way across. Just doing a back stitch. Okay. Okay, so there is my stitch that's going to go to separate the 2 wings. And then now from the end of that stripe, I need to make a triangular shape. That's going to be for the head. And so I will branch off on either side to kind of make my outline of where the head's going to be. So I end up making like a Y shape. Still doing the back stitch, okay? And then do that on both sides. You don't want to pull the yarn real tight. okay, like that. And then now I'm going to fill in this by just using a, what they call a satin stitch, I guess. But anyway, you just fill in that area solid. You want that area to be solid black, okay? Okay, so I got my outline. Oops, okay. Like that. And now I'm going to fill that in, and then I'll be right back after I get this filled in with stitches, okay? Okay, so I got the head stitched, filled in, okay? And now I just want to go, and using the rest of my yarn, I'm just going to make 3 stitches on each side to represent some dots on the wings. And then of course you want to do, if you want to do an extra here or there, just make it your own. Okay, so now, let's see, let me do that. Okay, now I'm going to just tie the ends together in the back. Okay, and you can actually put that yarn in there to use as stuffing. Okay, and now I'm going to let's go on to the next section, which will be the little strap that we need for the flower. Okay, so taking our green, and all we're going to do here is I'm going to chain 4, starting with a slip knot, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then on the second chain from the hook I'm going to do a single crochet, and then do single crochet in the next stitch, and single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so it's going to be 3 single crochets across, so you can do chain 1 for a turning chain, so chain 1, turn, and then you're going to do 3 stitches across, all single crochets, and we're going to do that for 16 rounds. So that was our first one, so this is number 2 right here. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, that's row 2. And then chain 1 and turn, and then in row 3 we're going to do the same thing, 3 stitches across. So we're going to do that for 16 rows, and I will meet you back when I get finished with my 16 rows. Okay, I got my 16 rows done, and now I'm going to fasten off, and I'm going to leave a tail so then I can use it for sewing. So I'm going to just chain 1 and then pull my yarn through to fasten off. Okay, so there is all of the crocheting that we need to be doing for this project. So all we have now is to sew the pieces together. Okay, so taking our let's take our flower first, and then we need to go ahead and sew the Velcro pieces. Let's sew the fuzzy part down onto the middle of our flower. And I'm going to take my sewing thread that I've got some pretty heavy duty sewing thread here, and I'm going to just sew this piece of Velcro onto the center of my flower. Okay, just in and out, just basic sewing. Okay, so I will meet you up when I get finished, when I get this sewed on there. Okay, so I got the Velcro, the fuzzy part of the Velcro stitched down to the center of my flower. Now I'm going to take the underside of my ladybug, and I'm going to take the other half of my Velcro and I'm going to put that with the right side facing up. Okay, I'm going to attach my Velcro to the underside of the ladybug with this, using the same process. I'm just going to stitch it on with my sewing thread and sewing needle. Okay, so I will meet you when I get this piece sewn on. Okay, so I got the other half of the Velcro stitched onto the underside of the ladybug. Now I'm going to stitch the two ladybug pieces together using my yarn needle, and then I'll just stitch it around until I get about maybe 2/3 of it stitched down, and then I will see if I need to add some stuffing into the body of my ladybug. Okay. Oops. Okay, so I've almost got him closed all the way up, so let me just, it's not going to take much. It's going to take a very small amount of stuffing. Just to give some roundness to the shell. Okay. Now I'm going to, oops, wrong way around. And then I'm going to just finish stuffing, stitching it closed. I may add just another little pinch right before I close it all the way up. Yeah, I think so. Okay. And then I'm going to finish closing him up. Okay, made it all the way around, looks like. Okay, and my ladybug has a rounded top, so that's good. Okay, now, okay, so before I close this up, I'm going to use my length of red yarn, and I'm just going to work my way back around to the back side of the ladybug. The back end. And then I'm going to run it through, and I want to go ahead and use this red yarn to attach the green strap to it underneath here, like that. I don't want it over the Velcro piece necessarily, but I want to attach it to the underside of my ladybug. Probably don't need more than, well, you want it to be securely, so that way if it gets yanked on, it's gonna stay attached. Okay, so just stitch that down securely. Let me finish stitching this down, and then I will come back and we will attach the other end to our flower. Okay, Okay, so now I took my green, I took the green tail that was coming off of this end. It was actually the long tail. I should have connected to the other end, but it doesn't matter. So what I did is I just yarned my needle and I just wove it in and out all the way down the length of my strap, so that way both tails could be down here at the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to attach this. Make sure that your bug is going to be right side up, and that the strap is not twisted. And we're going to attach, well, actually we need to attach the flower first. Sorry about that. Let's attach the flower first. Okay, so just center your flower, attach it down using your tail that you kept long for this purpose. And we could go ahead and center this rectangular piece with the top piece of your panel if you want to get it all symmetrical. And then just stitch the piece down to the back. And remember, you're not going to see the stitches on the back because it'll be the inside of the ball, and so you don't have to worry about getting those super neat because nobody's going to see them. So just stitch your flower down, and I will meet you back up right before I get to the end when I'm going to insert my strap, okay? Okay, so I am getting ready to attach the strap. I went ahead and put the ladybug back down onto the Velcro so then I'll know the placement is right. I'm going to tuck this strap underneath the edge of the flower there, and so when I'm continuing to sew this flower on, I'll make sure that I will go through that piece of that strap as well from the underside when I get to it, and I'm almost there. To secure that strap down. Okay, I want to make sure I go through the strap and then through the bottom of the panel, or through the panel, sorry. Come up and do the same thing, come up through the strap and then up through the flower. Okay, and then continue around, okay, stitching on the rest of the flower, and then I'm going to take these two tails from the strap and I'm going to feed those down through the bottom of the the panel, and then tie them in a knot to secure them down. If I don't think that the strap is secure enough, I can always, before I tie them in a knot, I can always put some stitches into them, okay, and then I will meet you up when I get finished, okay? Okay, so here is my ladybug panel. So this completes tutorial for the baby educational ball. This is part 5 in the tutorial. It's the 4th panel, but the first part, of course, was making the panels themselves. So thanks for watching this tutorial, and meet me up next time and we will do panel number 5. I'm losing count. Yes, because this is the 4th panel. Panel number 5 will be next. So in a few days I'll get that one done and posted, and then we will go on from there. Thanks so much for watching this tutorial, guys, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!